Have you ever started with a simple React component that just works, and as you begin to split it into smaller parts, you suddenly find yourself passing the same props through multiple layers? The problem is called props drilling. It's a very common issue you found in many projects. And today, I will walk you through how it shows up naturally in a real-world component and how can we clean it up with React Context API. We will start with a working example called SearchableList. And it can, basically search, filter, and render in a single place. Then we will split it up into a smaller component because that's normally what we do refactoring to make the smaller pieces more reusable. And then when things get interesting, by the end of the video, we'll refactor it to use Context API to eliminate the proper drilling completely. Let's jump into the code. As you can see, currently the page is a simple list of items that doesn't have any fancy styling or the placeholder for the input box or anything. It's a very simple UI at the moment. So if we want to type into the input, it can search based on what we typed, IGL, TypeScript, for example. At the moment, I have a component called SearchableList, which has an input here, which is doing the search, and has a list of items. Each item has a title and a description, and there is a button there. We can do some event handler, like we can add this to a shopping cart, and we can buy this book, build up the feature step by step. But at the moment, it's just a simple list. And there is a total number at the bottom of the list. So nothing fancy. It's just a simple all-in-one component. If we look at the code, it's simply a searchable list. It has a filtered items state that holding the initial items, which will be a list of books. It's a very simple implementation, and we have a simple event handler called handle search. So when you type a key, it will trim the keyword first from the input box, and then it will set the filtered item as filtered. Basically, it will based on the item name. That if the name includes a keyword, it will put it into the filtered item. And also there is a button in each of the list item, and when you click it, it will simply log the ID you just clicked it. So initially the application is simple enough. We don't have to do anything until we have to add new features. For example, if we want to make the input box more fancier, so now it doesn't have a placeholder or any button or accessible features in it yet. So as we gradually release to the production, we will make it more fancy. For example, we want to autocomplete. For example, we want to make it the icon, and probably will add more CSS styles to the input box. So then we will extract it into a simple or a separate component, probably a search box or something like that. And for the list, at the moment it's very simple. It just has a title and a description. But eventually we will build up like images, subsnails for each book. We will have the price that probably will come from a different service. And we probably will need some advertisement and the author information. So basically it will be more and more complicated over time. So at the moment it's just a simple list. And what I like to demonstrate here is we will refactor it first. So let's say over time the search box is already too complicated, so we decide to extract a SearchBox component and then use it inside the searchable list. So let's do that. I'll just put it here called SearchBox, and let's simply copy the JSX here, and then we return these JSX. And of course, we will need to pass in the handle search as a props here. So let's do that. Handle search, whatever it is, we just put it as a what do you call it? It's accepting a string, let's say, as a keyword, and then it doesn't return anything. So this is a very simple structure. And then the onChange will be changed a little bit. Also, we'll define a handle search inside the search box. So let's copy that over here. So we will need to call it onChange or handle change, and then we will simply use this handle change here, and then we don't handle it here. We just call the whatever handle change handle search passed in, and with the keyword we just extract it from the event. We don't have to actually handle it here. So now we have a SearchBox component SearchBox component, and that will need a handle search passed in. And then we can safely replace it here by using the SearchBox, and the handle search will be handle search here. Sorry, handle search. Of course, we will need to change this to a keyword string, and we don't have to extract it from anywhere. We just handle it here, and we can then simply remove this the original search box. The behavior should be already still same. If we go back to the browser refactoring, it should still work as before. Right, so we have a small component extracted, and if we use a quick refactor to move this out, that will be another step of the refactoring. So let's do that F6 and then move that out as a SearchBox component and add it to Git. And then the searchable list will be a little bit simpler. So we can do the additional refactoring on the searchable list a little bit further. Let's say we have a component called list, which will accepting a list of items. Let's say items, and the items will be a item array. So inside it, we will simply do this. Let's say return this list. Yeah, surely we don't have to call it filtered items. We just call it items, and we will also need a click handler. Let's say we need define something like this on click, but at the moment the handle click doesn't have any functionality, so we can pretty safely move this handle click into the list item component. So let's say we have a new component called list item that has something like item. The item is a item, and what we do is to return it from here. Let's say this will be the list item, and we put it here. And what we do, the handle click is we just put the console log into the list item component like this. Just simply put it here, and then replace the li with this list item component we just extracted. Item equals to item. We surely will need the key to be item.id, and then we don't need this part like that. So it's pretty simple extraction, and then we will need to use this list in here. So in the section, we can put these list items to be the filtered items, and we don't have to use the handle click inside the searchable list. So the functionality should be still remain the same. If we go to the list, and if we type for code, we can search for the code. If we search for Agile or TypeScript, it's still functional. So this is kind of a typical refactoring we can do on the all-in-one component, and it's a very common thing to do. The benefit of this split is if we want to use the search box in a different place, especially when we have the style, have the placeholder, have the icon, have every small features in a search box, we can reuse it everywhere. And also for the list as well, if we have built up the card component, for example, we have the subsnell, description, price, author, add to card, things like that. We can simply reuse the list component in the list view, or in a shopping cart view, in the checkout, different places we can reuse this list, and that's great. That's something we do normally. Let's say there is a new requirement comes. So the product team wants a new feature that whenever a list item is clicked inside the searchable list, there will be a analysis event popped up to a different system. Let's say they want to understand like how often one item is clicked. So they want to track this kind of user behavior, but currently the SearchableList doesn't have this functionality. So we will need to define a new callback to the SearchableList. Let's say we call it on item click, and then it will be a callback, and we can track in the ID of the item that being clicked. So let's say we want to add a new props to the SearchableList to support such feature. And if we go to the SearchableList, we want to define on item click. Let's see this, and we want to change the SearchableList props type. So we will need to do it here, and we want to track the ID of the item that being clicked, and we don't want to make any side effect when it's clicked. We want to pass down the on item click down to the list item. So now we are in a top level, which is SearchableList, and to pass it down, we will need to pass it down first to the list component. We'll put it here, like so, and then we will need to update the list props. So we will need the on item click, and then we will need to do it like so, ID string, and it doesn't have any side effect. And then we will need to pass it even further down to the list item, because that's eventually the actual item we want to track. We do this on item click, and then we have to change the list item interface like so. Do it here, and we will need to put it even further down here. Let's see, it's tracking the ID, and doesn't return anything. And then finally we got here, we can call the passed in on item click with the ID that the current item ID. So as you can see, we have to pass down the on item click from the SearchableList to list first, and in the list we don't actually use the on item click at all, but we still need to pass it down, and then we need to change the interface of the list, and then we pass it even further down to the list item. This is probably a very simple case. Just imagine that after the refactoring, we probably extracted the button to a separate component. It's possible, right? Because the button could be very complicated. It might have an icon on it. It might have some loading status when you're adding. It may have some checks in it. So what I'm trying to say is the button could be in its own component, and then you have to passing down the on item click even further down to the button component, and you're passing down a prop from very top level to multiple layers. And this is the heart of prop drilling, and it's an adding pattern because it tightly copies our components, making them hard to reuse and hard to maintain as the application grows. So what can we do? React gives us a really nice tool to deal with this kind of problem, that is context API. We can create a search context and hold our shared states and actions in it. And our component, the leaf component, can access these either searchable states or items or on item click from this context. In this context, we will store our current search terms and the filtered list of items, and handler functions that like handle click or on item click, things like that, or even like which one is selected. And then we can wrap the entire searchable list into the searchable context. And then in the search box, you can access these item, and in the list also you can access the filtered items. And the result is our components are more focused, and they no longer rely on the parents to pass down them to the correct props. They can always ask the context for the most current state of the whole list, and each component will be much more simpler because the logic is extracted and stored in the context. Let's see how it works. So firstly, we'll need to create a context. We can do that by using the SearchableList context, let's say. And we want to create a context, and also we can put something into the context as a type. We can probably put this inside a new file. Let's say, let me go to the search purpose here and create a new file. Let's call it SearchableListProvider. Right. So inside it, we can create a new context with a type. We'll currently put it now, and we call it searchable maybe list context. And then we will define a searchable provider component, SearchableList provider, and it will accepting a children. The children will be a React node, and we are going to simply return searchable context provider value to be something here, and we will simply pass in the children to its component to the child, and then we will need to export this. So we will need to define the type of these contacts. So at least we know that we will need a on item click callback inside the type. So we do that provider type. Sorry, it's not a context type. We will need the on click, which will be accepting a string and do nothing. And also we want, when we create the context, we are passing the type here, or a now. And initially it's now. And then in here, it will be on click, something like this. And and surely we at the moment we cannot see what on item click is, so we'll need to pass down from the parents. So let's say from here, ID string, and what is a void, and then we can pass it down to the child. So now we have a provider defined, and then we can use this provider in application here, like so. So we can do provider and put the searchable list inside. And for the on item click, we will need to pass it into the provider. And the searchable list is it's required. Okay, we will get rid of that very soon. So now the structure will be search provider, and then that wraps the searchable list. Inside the searchable list, we can use that context and get this on item click out of that context. So that means we will need to provide another hook. Let's say const use searchable list. So in here we just return use context, the searchable context, like that. And also we want to export it. So that means if we want to use the on item click anywhere under the tree, we can simply call the use searchable list to get out of this on item click. So if we go back to the list here, so now we don't have to pass down the on item click from into the searchable list because we have already got it in context. So let's do in the refactoring here. In the searchable list, there is no need for the on item click. If we go to here, we can get rid of this. Why we can get rid of it is because we can always get it from the context. So then in the list, we don't have to pass in it anymore. And so that means we will need to get rid of this. And also in the list item, we don't have to pass it from the parents. And in list item, because this one, you can get it from context, we can do const use searchable list on item click. All right, so we can use this to call back to on item click. What's the problem here? On item click does not exist in the type. On item click does not exist on type. Okay, it's possible because of the none here. So we can initial that with something else. So we can make sure it's not now. Let's say we want it to be a simple empty list that has nothing defined. So it will be taking anything, and then the on item click will be from the context. So then whenever the item is clicked, it will call back the handle click from the context. So now the list doesn't have anything to do with on item click, and also the searchable list doesn't have anything to do with the on item click because it's supposed to be working that way. And we only need to passing down something in here that from the product team, if they want to analyze the item, we can define something here to call the what do you call that, analysis service, and send out a event. Or they want to track down something else, we can always pass in a specific function from the top level. And for the searchable list point of view, it doesn't have any knowledge about the item click. And on top of that, we can also move the filtered item or the unsearch logic into the context or the provider. And we can do even further, like moving the filtered item links or even the filtered items into the context. So we can, in a footer component, we can always access the filtered items links, so we know how many items currently in a filtered list. I will leave the functionality of doing the further refactoring here to you. Let me summarize a little bit. So here what we did, we started with a simple all-in-one component that just worked, and we break it down into a few smaller reusable pieces, and which is the right thing to do, but discovered that the props drilling started to creep in, and finally we used the context API to remove the tight coupling between our components and let them stay truly independent. This is exactly the kind of practical design lesson I cover in my book, React Adding Patterns. You can check out the full code and chapter in the links below. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like, subscribe for more clean code tips, and share it with someone who is diving deep into React. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.